Now for a little bit more of my first read this Monday morning. After spending 5 years away from the campaign trail, we saw something we hadn't seen in a long time. Hillary Clinton returning to the stump. She did so on Saturday. She appeared at this campaign rally in Falls Church, Virginia, to support her longtime friend, Terry McAuliffe. McAuliffe, of course, leads Ken Cuccinelli by 7 points in the latest NBC Marist poll in the race for Virginia governor. This weekend, Clinton seemed relaxed. She smiled a lot when the crowd shouted that she should run for president again.
I've been in a lot of elections. And I know that at the end of the day, it all comes down to who takes the trouble up and vote.
Clinton also took the opportunity to zing conservatives in Congress. Nope, got the wrong piece of tape there. Sorry about that. But she went after them and went after some of the ways that Congress hasn't been working in Washington these days, saying that they're looking for leadership. At the same time, Terry McAuliffe's Republican opponent tried to score his own political points. Ken Cuccinelli gave the official Republican response to the president's weekly radio address. Mike Huckabee also stumped for Cuccinelli on Saturday to a packed audience in Lynchburg. Huckabee praised Cuccinelli for being the first of 27 attorneys general to challenge the Affordable Care Act. But if you're stumping with Mike Huckabee this late in the game, it means you're worried about your base, not swing voters. Cuccinelli's also staging a Get Out the Vote rally this afternoon with other attorneys general in Sterling. Another Republican made some campaign-style stops this weekend himself. With an eye on 2016, Senator Ted Cruz appeared on plenty of talk shows over the weekend, but he's still defending his role in the government shutdown. On Saturday, Cruz spoke at the Federation of Republican Women State Convention, and he criticized his fellow Republican senators.
If Senate Republicans had simply said, we're going to stand together, united with House Republicans and the American people, and we're going to stand against the train wreck that is Obamacare. The Senate Republicans should have come in like the cavalry to support them. Unfortunately, a significant chunk of Senate Republicans instead came like the Air Force and began bombing the House Republicans, our own troops.
There it is, Ted Cruz almost issuing a call for Republicans to challenge some of these Republican senators. We're seeing the first signs, though, of the 2016 campaign bubble back up. The question is, how ugly will it get? Let's bring in the Monday gaggle, American Crossroads, Jonathan Coligio. He's president. He's with the Karl Rove head their group, founded group that tries Republicans. We'll talk to him that in a minute. Center for American Progress President Neera Tanden and the Washington Post chief correspondent Dan Balls. So, Jonathan, I want to start with you since you represent the establishment wing of the Republican Party.
I don't even know what that means.
Whatever that means these days. Respond to Ted Cruz saying that the U.S. senators, Republican senators, guys that you have helped try to elect, were like the Air Force bombing their own House Republican troops.
I mean, I think that that's hyperbole. Every Republican in Congress at one point...
Really? It's hyperbole?
At one
I'm
point,
shocked.
At one point or another has opposed Obamacare, and it was a difference of tactics. I mean, what I really think the problem is that we missed an opportunity to delay Obamacare. There was a chance to actually get Democrats to come over on a one-year delay of the individual mandate. We could have seen Senate Democrats like Mary Landrieu or some of the others who are up for re-election come over to our side on that. The defund...
Mark Begich said nobody ever briefed him. He never had a meeting with Ted Cruz. And here's a guy that might have been open, a red state Senate Democrat. He said Ted Cruz didn't even bother.
It's a missed opportunity over like just being too focused on one specific tactic.
Neera, when you look at this, what is clearly a Republican, and is it a civil war? And the divide sometimes, it's not on issues. The divide really seems to be stylistic.
You know, I think it's both. I mean, saying shutting down the government is a disagreement over tactic, I think, might be a little understatement. I mean, obviously, it's a means, but it is a kind of game-changing event. I think you're seeing it in elections. You're seeing it in Terry's election. He moved up after this. So I also think the big test will be immigration, whether it is a substantive divide or not. Obviously, a lot of Senate Republicans voted for comprehensive immigration reform. You're not seeing that support in the House. I think that'll be a test of whether this is a tactical decision or a big ideological shift. And I actually believe there is a big ideological war in the Republican Party.
Well, it's interesting, and that, I guess, is the question. Is it philosophical or is it stylistic? I mean, I go back. Jonathan Rauch had a great piece about the idea that compromise is actually an idea, all right? In the Tea Party wing of the Republican Party that says go back to what the framers wanted. Madison wanted compromise, incremental. You know, that's how you move the country, incremental.
I don't think people are reading the Federalist Papers right now.
You don't think so?
No, I think that they're.
But if they did,
I think they're listening to other voices at this point and reading other things. I think there is both ideological difference within the Republican Party. I think this government shutdown was largely an issue of tactics. I mean, the Republican Party is pretty united on the issue of the Affordable Care Act. We know that, but the consequence of shutting down the government has been terrible for the Republican Party on this, and they're going to have to pay the price on that. Neera's right on immigration. There are differences there that they're going to have to hash out. And
by the way, immigration seems deader today in the House than it did before the shutdown, if that's possible.
You know, I think the thing is it really depends on how you look at your fate going forward. I mean, it would be passing comprehensive immigration reform would be a way to moderate the brand of the Republican Party. How many House Republicans think that way is a big question. But leadership in the party.
It will also expose
more of the...
The ideological thing, I think, is overstated. This isn't 1988 where you got to, like, worry about John Chafee voting 70% of the time with the Democrats. That doesn't happen anymore. There is no Venn diagram
Which is
in the
where
Senate.
part of this, to me, seems so... I agree.
Yeah.
This isn't that wide of a divide, philosophically.
It's very narrow, yeah.
And yet it seems there was more anger there than there was 30 years ago.
Yeah. I think it's very, very stylistic. I also think it's a matter of incentives, because you have a lot of groups that are incentivized because quite honestly,
speaking from your own special interest group, I mean,
there is a saturation among the groups that are going after Democrats, and so there is a space here to be able to go after the ideological purity of your colleagues.
Okay, and half of the Senate Republicans running for re-election, we just went, half of them that are running for re-election have or very serious primary opponents of these Senate Republicans. Probably the odds are at least 2 of them are going to lose. Who knows which 2? But it does seem as if there's so much energy right now. Do you think they keep it up? And does the establishment wing, how do they fight back? Because it seems like the more they fight back, it almost energizes the right.
If it's a stylistic question, I think they're going to have a hard time getting traction. So you're seeing that in Kentucky, right? The Kentucky conservative guy is trying to make the case that Mitch McConnell is not conservative enough for the state. And that flies in the face of every headline and everything that every Kentucky voter has seen over the last 4 years. They know that McConnell is the biggest opponent of Obamacare and Obama. He's trying to create daylight where none exists, where the only daylight exists on a stylistic thing. I think it's good.
McConnell's not Lugar or Bennett.
No,
absolutely not.
No, but I think they're big issues.
Much tougher campaign.
It seems much tougher, and it's almost like daring the right now to go after him.
And also, Alison Grimes is doing a great race. She's ahead. She's ahead in that race.
And it does seem like McConnell knows his real problem is her.
But she's
and do you think
really
it is too?
I think that's right.
Yeah. All right, we're going to have more with all of you guys in a little bit. Much more on Hillary Clinton's return to the campaign trail on our website, plus a Daily Rundown exclusive, the first Democratic ad that hits a Republican who voted against the debt deal. That's all on rundown.msnbc.com. Sign up to be part of our new online community so you can get this stuff sooner and better. A little bit of developing news. The Associated Press and Politico are both reporting that Republican Congressman Tim Griffin from Arkansas is not seeking re-election. Griffin represents Central Arkansas. He says he'll finish out his term, but is not going to run for a 3rd term. He was a 2010 guy, not seeking a 3rd term. Up next, a deep dive into the growing disgust with the political system. Surprise, surprise, the political middle of this country is not a fan of what they see. Find out what they think should be done to fix the problems. We'll be right back.